We're back at NAFB Convention 2017 at Trade Talk, and I'm being joined by Greg Anderson. He is the treasurer of the governing board of the National Biodiesel Board. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, biodiesel in the last couple of weeks, that was kind of an interesting month and a half that we've had here, especially with relation to the EPA and the RFS. Can we kind of just recap quickly what happened, and hopefully we can figure out why?
Well, a lot of things have been happening over the last few weeks. We had the NODA that came. We're probably expecting that, of course. I know with the administration down through the last few months promised that they're going to support the renewable fuels, and certainly biodiesel is the tip of the spear that's really pushing the RFS. And so with biodiesel being the only commercially advanced biofuel available in every state of the country, it made sense to showcase biodiesel in this, and then we see EPA backing off or sending signals that, hey, maybe we're not going to support the levels of production that we said we are, or we're going to plateau it. And so this brought out a lot of grassroots efforts, I think, from our membership, and our membership is a vast, diverse membership of farmers such as myself, as well as biodiesel producers and marketers, and just a whole long line of influential people that I think can make a difference when they talk to their representative in Congress or the Senate. And so what we did was provide EPA during the comment period credible data showing that we do have the production capacity to serve this market in a growing fashion, that certainly we provide tens of thousands of clean, good-paying jobs that are vital to our community, our country, as well as provide tax base for local communities. The list goes on, the benefits. And I think, by and large, EPA understood that, heard it, got the message, along with support of many senators that came to our rescue, champions such as Senator Grassley and others who vowed to not give up this fight, present our case. And so we'll see here end of the month when some numbers are released on where we're at.
So was there any indication as to why EPA Administrator Pruitt thought this was a good idea to cut back on the RFS?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I know what we call big oil has a lot of influence, and lots of times behind the scenes the oil industry sees that renewable fuels is starting to cut in, make a difference, make a dent. At the Biodiesel Board, we have a very aggressive goal, but one that's on path to meet by the year 2022 to supply 10% of our diesel fuel supply with its biodiesel. So with that, that'd be about a 4 billion gallon market, and currently this year we're going to produce about 2.6 billion. So I think with that, we have some challenges, but yet pretty hard to argue against renewable fuels grown right here in America, taking care of our own country, energy security, the clean burning fuel that it is, and so forth, using agricultural products that we have left over that we need to find a market for, integrate them into feedstock for biodiesel as well as ethanol. It's a great success story.
I know a lot of people were questioning when this was first being talked about, why was there so much concern for how much biodiesel we're importing when we have the abundance and we have the capability of producing enough on our own, especially when it came to what we found out with Argentina and I believe Indonesia were doing, yes, dumping biodiesel into the American market. Yeah. People are concerned, why aren't we using our own? Now, that's of course in the language of the RFS, how it has to be handled, but kind of let me help explain to our viewers why this is being done and why it's important that we have imported even though we're producing our own.
Yeah, imports ebb and flow. I know even as a beef producer myself, I see beef being exported, but then I also understand beef is imported, so that's going to happen. What we don't want to happen is countries dumping imported fuel at a huge reduced price. That doesn't do our producers any good at all. Well, we have capacity to produce way more gallons than we're using. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to import. Now, if we were at a point where we were, using every gallon that we were producing and we needed more, imports can serve a market. And I understand in the Northeast, as well as some of the coast, imported fuel is going to happen. It's going to come in sometimes for transportation costs, for logistics and what have you. But we saw that basically Argentina and Indonesia specifically were doing some dumping, and we saw that was a strong case for a trade case. We presented it, and we're very confident that in the next months that we're going to win that case. That'll put a stop to that dumping of fuel, and with that, it'll incentivize our domestic producers to not only ratchet up their production, but have the confidence in that they can produce fuel. It's going to be used here in the United States, and we're going to produce most of what we use right here. And I think that's important.
Now, as we look forward here, I know when this all kind of happened with biodiesel, ethanol industry also took notice and said, hey, wait a minute, if this can happen to them, it can happen to us.
Yeah.
And now as we look ahead to the 2018 RFS and those numbers are going to be coming out here, how do you and the ethanol industry kind of work together to make sure, to help each other out? Because obviously you're in it together, to kind of help each other out to make sure that nobody's going through this kind of a problem again.
Yeah, you know, ethanol is not biodiesel, biodiesel is not ethanol, but we have some of the same goals, certainly. I think of biodiesel, for example, number one feedstock used to make biodiesel is soybean oil, but yet corn oil is becoming a big player. And I think around 11% of the feedstock is actually corn oil now, used from ethanol plants as a byproduct. Now it's shipped off, made into biodiesel. And so we have a lot of the same goals, and we're in it together. Most soybean farmers also grow corn. So a lot of things overlap, and I think what the synergy and what the energy can be made in our attempts to persuade Congress our way is certainly all these fuel groups working together on issues that affect everybody. And so when a senator or a congressman picks up the phone, talks to their constituents, whether it's a biodiesel producer or an ethanol producer, saying, hey, this is what's going on at my plant, this is what's going to happen if these RFS levels aren't where we want them. We're gonna lose jobs. We're gonna lose tax base. We're gonna lose farmers bringing bushels in. We're not going to have the demand for it. It's going to create a whole lot of problems. But on the other hand, if those numbers are good and robust and growing, this is what can happen. We can grow our economy. We can produce tens of thousands more jobs. We can put more production facilities online. If we get a tax credit for biodiesel, it's going to provide assurance to those people to have confidence to work years ahead. So with that, I think, as you say, there's a lot of overlap, and we can work together towards a common goal.
All right, well, Greg, as we get ready to look forward now until 2018 and with the RFS, we'll look forward to hearing more and hopefully better positive news from both biodiesel and ethanol, and then hopefully the RFS will be kind to all of us here the next year.
I certainly hope so. You know, the RFS was created. It works great. It needs to continue to work as it was intended, and hopefully EPA will understand that.
All right, well, Greg, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That's Greg Anderson with the National Biodiesel Board here from Kansas City. We'll be back after this.